was not therefore at least aware of why his quote-unquote best friend, Ryan Reynolds, was writing in all of these lines.
Have you ever felt like some celebrities are too perfect? Like no way they're that nice all the time? Well, Ryan Reynolds might just be the biggest Hollywood illusion yet. Behind the charm and sarcasm, co-stars are spilling secrets. Career-ending threats, power moves, and even his so-called bromance with Hugh Jackman might have been fake this whole time. So, is Reynolds the funny guy we all love? Or is there a darker truth? Stick around, because once you hear what's really going on, you'll never look at him the same way again.
It was inarticulate, it was embarrassing, but
great.
I learned this from my acting teacher. When you first read a play or a script, write down everything you think, because you never have those eyes again.
Ryan Reynolds has spent years crafting the image of the easygoing, effortlessly funny guy next door. But what if the cracks in that persona started way earlier than we realized? Turns out, the warning signs were there from the beginning. Actor Matthew Lawrence recently spilled some behind-the-scenes tea about working with Reynolds on the 1998 film Boltneck. And let's just say, it wasn't all laughs. Lawrence claimed that even back then, Reynolds had issues taking direction.
I'll agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
Clashing with producers and the film's Oscar-nominated crew. Why? Because they didn't buy into his over-the-top Jim Carrey impersonation. Yeah, apparently, Ryan wanted to be the guy in the room, and when he didn't get his way, let's just say tensions ran high. And if this was happening before he was even a household name, imagine what came next when Reynolds actually got power in Hollywood.
No, it's not every day a guy gets to interview the love interest of his best friend's wife, and the guy trying to replace Ryan as a husband, and me as his best mate.
Holy shit.
Spoiler alert, it only got worse. Fast forward to Deadpool, the movie that made Ryan Reynolds the face of R-rated superhero films. But while audiences were loving his quick wit and sarcastic charm, things on set weren't as smooth as they seemed. Just ask TJ Miller, because according to him, Reynolds wasn't just acting like a jerk, he actually was one. Miller, who played Weasel in the Deadpool movies, revealed that Reynolds went from cracking jokes to straight-up humiliating him in front of the entire crew. One particular moment stuck with Miller. Reynolds apparently leaned in during a take and said, "You know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star."
And so I read the script and I just immediately did a voice note. And I didn't call because I wanted it just to be my without any questions. And literally 60 minutes of it is crap.
You just do enough exposition to be funny, and then we can move on to the real movie. Ouch. Miller later admitted that after witnessing Reynolds' behavior firsthand, he would never work with him again. And keep in mind, this wasn't some one-time bad day. It was a pattern that more and more of his co-stars started to notice. And trust me, this is just the beginning. When Deadpool became a massive hit, it should have been smooth sailing for the sequel.
Oh
Franchise.
my goodness. Well, that was just a neat little surprise. Rob Liefeld, who drew Ladypool.
I love Rob.
He's cool,
Isn't
right?
he great?
Yeah.
But instead of keeping the winning team together, something or someone caused a major shakeup. That someone? Ryan Reynolds. Director Tim Miller, the guy who helped turn Deadpool into a global phenomenon, was suddenly out of the picture for the sequel. Why? Because according to Miller himself, Reynolds wanted complete creative control. And when two big egos clash in Hollywood, only one gets to stay. When Deadpool became a massive hit, it wasn't just because of Ryan Reynolds' performance. A huge part of its success came from the vision of director Tim Miller.
I could not be more excited, actually. I'm 11 years excited. When I talk about it, I always just grateful I'm wearing an adult diaper. This movie has been just the biggest pain in the ass to get made, and
the guy who fought to get the film made in the first place. The unique tone, the gritty yet hilarious execution, the perfect balance of comedy and action, that wasn't just Reynolds cracking jokes. It was a director with a clear vision leading the way. When it was announced that Tim Miller wouldn't be returning to direct Deadpool 2,
approached a senior executive at WME and expressed his deep disdain for Baldoni, going as far as to suggest that the agency is working with a sexual predator.
Fans were stunned. This was the director who had helped bring Deadpool to life, the guy who fought alongside Ryan Reynolds to convince the studio to greenlight the first film. The original Deadpool wasn't just a box office smash, it was a cultural moment, redefining what a superhero movie could be. The success was undeniable. So why would the director of a billion-dollar franchise walk away right when it was about to explode even further? Why give up a sequel that was guaranteed to be another massive hit? It wasn't just a scheduling conflict. It wasn't a creative reset. This wasn't a simple case of moving on to other projects. Something happened behind the scenes. Miller's departure sent shockwaves through the industry because directors don't just leave gold mines like this. The sequel had already been greenlit, expectations were through the roof, and yet...
Especially because we did the timeline and we showed you that this was not initially supposed to be a part of their principal filming. And then they went back and they did some filming after the SAG-AFTRA strike, and somebody had admitted that they had done all of that dog poo.
Miller didn't just step back. He completely cut ties. And here's the kicker. Studio executives didn't stop him. They didn't fight to keep him. They didn't try to mediate the situation. That alone should tell you how bad things had gotten. Because when a major studio is willing to let go of a director who just delivered one of their biggest hits without hesitation, it usually means there was someone else in the equation with even more power. That someone? Ryan Reynolds. The whispers started almost immediately. Miller and Reynolds clashed, and not in a small way. Reynolds, fresh off the success of Deadpool, was no longer just the face of the franchise.
Maybe secretly because I was an X-Men stan. I absolutely loved the X-Men movies. And maybe there was a piece of me that just didn't want him to be a part of the bullying squad against Justin Baldoni.
He was the franchise. He wanted total creative control. And when Miller refused to let the sequel become a one-man show, the power struggle turned ugly. Miller later admitted that working with Reynolds had become impossible. As soon as Deadpool turned Reynolds into a Hollywood power player, he wanted total control over the franchise. And when Tim Miller, an experienced director with a proven track record, stood his ground, Reynolds shut him out. The tension got so bad that Miller didn't just leave. He walked away from one of the biggest films of his career, rather than deal with Reynolds' growing ego. Think about that. A director willingly stepping down from a multi-million-dollar franchise that he helped create? That's not just a creative difference. That's a red flag. Because directors don't just give up on blockbuster sequels unless something behind the scenes is truly unbearable. And if a director, someone with full studio backing and legitimate power, couldn't stand up to Reynolds, imagine what it was like for people with less power on set. The crew members, the supporting cast, the makeup artists. If Reynolds was making Miller's job impossible, what chance did they have? And here's the thing, it didn't stop there. This wasn't a one-time clash or a bad working relationship. The more control Reynolds got, the more people started disappearing from his projects. And once you see who else has mysteriously been sidelined or pushed out, it starts to paint a very different picture of the Hollywood nice guy we thought we knew. By now, it's clear that working with Ryan Reynolds isn't always as fun as it looks on screen. The sarcastic charm, the effortless humor, the easygoing nice guy image, it all makes for great PR. But behind the scenes, it's a different story. Because if you don't fall in line with his vision, you might just find yourself erased. Just ask Morena Baccarin, the actress who played Vanessa, Deadpool's love interest. In the first Deadpool movie, she wasn't just a supporting character. She was the emotional anchor of the entire film. The chemistry between her and Reynolds was one of the reasons audiences connected with the story. The movie didn't just make Deadpool a household name, it made their dynamic iconic. But by the time Deadpool 2 rolled around, she was practically erased. And according to inside sources, that wasn't just some creative decision. It was personal. Word is, Reynolds found Baccarin overbearing and decided she was a problem. But instead of handling the situation professionally, like, having a conversation, he reportedly used his growing influence behind the scenes to cut her screen time down to almost nothing. This wasn't just a creative shift. It wasn't about the story evolving. It was a power move. Because let's be real, when Hollywood wants to get rid of someone, they don't always fire them. Sometimes they just push them so far into the background that they disappear. And for an actress, being sidelined in a massive blockbuster doesn't just affect one film, it can completely stall a career. And the worst part? Morena wasn't the only one this happened to. So if Ryan Reynolds has the power to make an actress who was vital to his franchise nearly vanish overnight, what else has he been quietly controlling behind the scenes? And who else has been forced out for not playing by his rules? Think about that. An actress playing a lead role in a billion-dollar franchise, suddenly being sidelined as if she never mattered. Morena Baccarin was a huge part of Deadpool, her character Vanessa being the emotional core of the first movie. Fans loved her. She had chemistry with Reynolds. She was part of the film's success. And yet, When it came time for the sequel, she was barely there. Why? Because she didn't vibe with Ryan Reynolds? Because she didn't fit into his vision for the franchise? That's not just petty. That's career damaging. A move like that doesn't just affect one film. It affects an actor's entire trajectory in Hollywood. And here's the thing. Morena wasn't the only one to experience this. We've seen this pattern before. Co-stars who challenge Reynolds, directors who don't fully agree with him, creatives who want to maintain their own vision. So many of them either mysteriously disappear from projects or get reduced to footnotes while Reynolds' influence grows stronger. This isn't just difficult behavior anymore. It's not just creative clashes. This is a power move. Reynolds isn't just playing the hero on screen, he's positioning himself as the decision-maker behind the scenes, deciding who stays and who goes. And once you see how he's handled his so-called bromance with Hugh Jackman, it becomes crystal clear. This isn't just about movies. This is about control. And for the first time, that control might be slipping. For years, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman had one of Hollywood's most entertaining feuds. The playful jabs, the staged pranks, the back-and-forth banter. It all seemed like harmless fun. Fans loved it, and the media ate it up. Their dynamic was so convincing that people believed they had the perfect brotherly friendship, always teasing each other, but with nothing but mutual respect underneath. But what if it wasn't? What if, behind the scenes, their so-called bromance was just another Ryan Reynolds production? A carefully curated act that benefited one person far more than the other? Because now, insiders are saying that Jackman isn't just quietly stepping away. He's completely done playing along. And not because the joke ran its course, but because the truth behind their relationship might be a lot darker than we thought. Reports suggest that after years of tolerating Reynolds' behind-the-scenes antics, Jackman has finally started distancing himself. Not just personally, but publicly. And it might not just be about Reynolds' personality or controlling behavior on set. This could go deeper. Because this time, it's not just about internet pranks or staged Twitter feuds. This time, there could be legal stakes involved. And when the fun and games stop being funny, when real reputations and careers are on the line, you start to see who's really in control. And if Jackman is walking away now after years of being the ultimate team player, that says everything. Hugh Jackman is rumored to be a key witness in the growing legal battle involving Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively, and Justin Baldoni. And if this case goes to trial, he may be forced to do something that could change everything. Tell the truth about what he's seen behind closed doors. That includes the alleged manipulation, behind-the-scenes power moves, and Reynolds' increasingly toxic reputation on set. For years, Jackman played along with the public bromance that fans adored. The staged feuds, the playful insults, it all seemed like good fun. But what if it wasn't? What if those jabs weren't just for show, but actually masked real tension? Think about it. Hugh has always been known as one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. He's respected, admired, and rarely caught up in drama. If he's quietly stepping away from Reynolds, that says something. And let's be honest, Jackman doesn't need Reynolds. He's an A-lister in his own right. He's had a long, successful career without having to lean on viral internet humor or social media antics. So if he's choosing to distance himself, there's a good chance it's because he's seen something he wants no part of. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. If Hugh is called to testify, he'll have to answer questions under oath. No PR spin, no friendly banter, no witty comebacks. Just the truth. And if he's forced to open up about Reynolds' real behavior behind the scenes, it could completely shatter the public's perception of Hollywood's favorite nice guy. Maybe the jokes were never jokes at all. Maybe the bromance was just another one-sided relationship where Reynolds was the one pulling the strings. And if Hugh Jackman really decides to talk, it could be game over. Ryan Reynolds has spent years mastering the art of public perception. Always the funny guy, always the self-deprecating underdog, and always in control of the narrative. He's built a brand around his quick wit, turning even the harshest criticisms into a joke that makes him look even more likable. But now, the cracks are showing, and they're getting impossible to ignore. More and more co-stars are speaking out. Directors are walking away. Even longtime friends like Hugh Jackman are keeping their distance. And this isn't just about clashing personalities or creative differences. These stories all paint the same picture: a pattern of controlling behavior, power moves, and a guy who isn't as easygoing as he wants the world to believe. And now, with a massive legal battle looming over both him and Blake Lively, that carefully curated image is starting to unravel. Reynolds has always been good at spinning situations in his favor, using humor as a shield, but this time, the narrative might be slipping from his grasp. For so long, he's been the guy everyone loves, the sarcastic, charming, no-drama Hollywood star. But what if that was just a performance? What if the lovable goofball persona was nothing more than a carefully crafted smokescreen hiding something way more calculated? One thing is for sure, Hollywood is watching. And if more people start coming forward, Ryan Reynolds might not be able to joke his way out of this one. Because at some point, when enough people tell the same story, the world starts to listen.